Fiorella let out a gasp and a moan as her body shivered all over in pleasure. Aye, thee. Her body jolted a couple more times as the guard continued the cunnilingus. Stop, she ordered quietly. Immediately the guard stopped. Fiorella took a few seconds to sit back and bask in the afterglow of experience and scooted herself up off the office chair. Leaving the henchman underneath her desk, she lit a menthol cigarettes. It was only a few long drags that she decided to roll the chair backwards so that the guard could get out from underneath. A brutish-looking man with a near-perfect square jawline, a brow that was overhanging cliff, and a look that was cold as death itself crawled out. He then stood to attention, his face still glistening, and awaited further orders. Thank you. That was most appreciated. Go and clean yourself up and make sure another takes your place. As you deserve a day off for that, go to Lisa at HR and tell her that you have earned yourself a bonus. Let's say a level 3. Fiorella ordered. The man who had just demeaned himself was ex-Mossad and had a very extensive history of successful assassinations. The fact that he was such a brutal murderer added to the eroticism for Fiorella, as being able to command someone so lethal into such sexual servitude was a thrill. Also, he would not have been in the position he was in if he was not capable in such areas as making sure Fiorella climaxed regularly, as it was a job requirement for elite guards. This was certainly no easy task, and sometimes there was a near impossibility for her to reach the heights that she demanded. There had been many a time that she had 3 or 4 of her most loyal and deadly taking turns in providing oral pleasure for hours on end until she reached such plateaus. Like many other megalomaniacs, an abundance of power, Fiorella's had an insatiable lust and a varied palette of desires, such as taking substantial pleasure from being on the receiving end of the rougher types of sex. This added a difficult dynamic for elite guards, as the joys of being sexually degraded conflicted against the absolute fear of Fiorella. They knew if they had pushed it too far, the lead actually felt degraded beyond the realms of their own sexual perversion, then there would be some terrible form of torture or worse waiting for them. It was only last week that one of her elite guard pulled her hair much too hard, talked too dirty to her, and she made Fiorella gag more than she would have liked. This ex-CIA spy was subsequently executed 5 minutes after the consummation finished. Quite unnaturally, the perverted leader enjoyed the fear that her guards felt when they were manhandling her, and as a true testament of their willpower to actually stay visibly aroused during the rather confusing ordeal. Of course, Fiorella wasn't a complete monster, and she knew she had to placate them somehow, too, as they were all vicious killers. To do this for men and women who were successful at such sexual services, receive the most lavish of gifts in return to alleviate the feelings of humiliation. An example being that the ex-Mossad guard who had just pleased her orally was to receive a supercar of his choice or £100,000 bonus. Such opulent gift-giving and such high libido meant the personal bill she racked up had reached the 100 million mark for the year. However, such costs were a drop in the ocean of the money she actually made. When the afterglow had waned, Fiorella put her white silk dressing gown on and a white fluffy mink fur slippers and went to log on to her computer. It was back to the mundane reality of checking emails, an essential aspect of empire ruling these days. The first email she opened was about the identity of a particularly annoying hacker who had been revealing the financial irregularities of the super rich. Not that she cared about any of those one-dimensional idiots who only thought about acquiring more money and hedonistic pleasures. It was more that her business was getting caught up as part of the collateral damage, and she didn't want any further scrutiny of her activities. In a way, she thought the hacker was quite noble, risking his skin for such a worthwhile cause, but of course a threat was a threat. She replied to her email to her operations department thus: "Yes, please take immediate action. I suggest short-term surveillance to identify any co-conspirators and all information is collated. Frame the perpetrator of a humiliating crime. Example, child pornography, but only to a level where bail can still occur. The framing will need to be done in a way that means friends suspect that he is being targeted. Then a week or two later, once he has been bailed and is awaiting trial, eliminate him but make it look like suicide. Let his co-conspirators live for a month so they can spread their fear, and then eliminate them in whatever gruesome fashion you see fit. Her next email read, "Thee, I do agree that the coral colour on that cloth will suit nicely for the decor of a new reception area. I want to be welcoming and put people at ease. Or that custom-built sofa chair that you sent. That will need to be in reception too." Fiorella had the tendency to send her emails in chunks, as she often would remember other things that she had forgotten to put in the first message. I forgot to mention. Please say to the police to see how they are doing with regard to our missing Oso sales director. The police have had a fair few weeks and I have not seen any updates. I want to know if the destruction left behind was due to a struggle or that had simply been due to him going mad because of his significant cocaine consumption and disappearing into the ether thereafter. Although he was sales, he did have some worth to the organisation, so I do want to find out what happened. She then came across an email that was worrying enough to cause a raised eyebrow on her face. She even went as far to print the email out and its attachments. Like all issues that required a bit more thinking for Fiorella, she jotted down the key points on paper, so they were right in front of her. She could barely remember that she had okayed the operations department to have this now missing person's their fate, and then to have him experimented on in one of her medical research labs. She had even had to go back to the old emails to double check. What had happened had definitely caught her interest. She felt it was apparent that whatever organisation was behind this was so professional that they were able to get rid of any and all evidence, even to the point of making all the dead and possibly alive bodies disappear. That the act had taken place within a UK court in broad daylight added to the level of professionalism required. Not only in Lisbon, no genetic matter was anywhere to be found. Even in today's run-down courts or ineffective privatised security, it's surprising that whoever had done this was able to do it this well. The police officers that she had on her organisation's books reported that not one iota of evidence was found, and the CCTV simply did not record for the duration of the incident after the man was brought into the courts. What added to her belief that this organisation did not want this man to be known was that any photographic or CCTV evidence of him in any previous hospitals, prisons, or anywhere else that might have been recorded him simply did not seem to exist. It didn't stop there, as the media at the court had all conveniently gone elsewhere to cover a drug celebrity exposing himself. Clearly his target was quite an important man, and Fiorella wanted to find out why. The only people that Fiorella believed could have committed an act of such professionalism were her own. It would have cost her tens of millions, but it would have happened if she had really wanted it to. She quickly deduced it couldn't have been her own known competitors, as her spy network was that good she would have easily found out such actions in advance. This gave her cause for concern, as it meant that her unknown organisation was potentially as lethal as hers. Also, she thought that these people may have acted in the knowledge that her organisation was targeting the imprisoned man, which concerned her, as it meant there was possibly a mole or moles in her organisation. Fiorella felt that as good as these people were, there were definitely flaws in the covering of their tracks, none of which made any sense. They went about getting rid of all the visually recorded data on the man. She pondered, leaving not only one trace of their tracks, but they let all the medical records of the man survive. Perhaps the medical significance of the man was of no importance, but it also meant that the most unbreakable link for identification still existed, his DNA. There was also the fact that although the witnesses in the court were clearly eliminated in an effective fashion, witnesses from a previous hospital and the prison are still alive. Fiorella then mused, if these people were that good, then why didn't they eliminate those witnesses as well? Fiorella's back suddenly shot straight up and she quickly dialed the operations department. Hi, Steve. So you're on call today. It's an urgent one. It's about... Oh, you already have your people on it. That's wonderful, Steve. What? Our man is the only witness that is left? Even prisoners? Puta madre. I know you already have our finest people watching, but you need to increase the surveillance to a point where we even know when he blinks. We can't make it too obvious of a doctor isn't to be notified. I want at least one of these people captured alive, as we need information about this new organization." Fiorella paused for a few seconds before she spoke again. "Update me if you find anything more about this man that escaped from the court, and if there's anything interesting about his DNA. Thank you, Steve." Fiorella sat back. She had a strange feeling, the like of which she had not felt for a long time. It was of fear of the unknown, and fear that this new hurdle might actually pose a threat to her and her plans. Like all obsessives and control freaks, she went to the information at hand to repeatedly analyze it, hoping to cover a new idea or clue. When she delved deeper into the man's slender file, she saw that what led to him being arrested and put in hospital was that he was apparently running away from a mugging gone wrong. Obviously, it can't have been that. There's the possibility that he's trying to escape from this unknown organization. Clearly, he was someone with specialist training, as the way he easily dismantled so many women in prison would not be achieved by someone with ordinary skills. The train of thought took Fiorella to other known facts, none of which led anywhere, and eventually it all came to a stop when she realized there's nothing more to add. She reluctantly decided to plan for how to limit further damage and repair what had already been done. The main cost of the incident was that the organisation had lost a judge and 2 barristers that were on their payroll. In many countries, acquiring new and corruptible representatives of the law at that level wasn't a difficult task, but in the UK it did require a modicum more effort and time. Of course, ultimately the organisation would find replacements, and Fiorella had every confidence as there was always a way to bend people. This convincing took a substantial amount of resources, however, as many an investigation for blackmail was required, and also a lot of money was needed for generous bribes. Fiorella sighed and gave herself a little reprieve from work by spinning around on her desk chair. With every few spins, she alternated the direction. Then suddenly she stopped, spun back so she was in front of a computer, and wrote an email to Human Resources with the operations team CC'd in. It was a simple order saying that she has authorised initial funding of £5 million for recruitment of a judge and 2 barristers. If further monies were required, then they would have to request them directly from her. As lavish as Fiorella was with her employees and her organisation, she was stringent about any waste that went into operations. She was lavish so that her henchmen were effective and loyal, but not wasteful. To ensure efficiency, an all-seeing eye was used, and this meant every penny was accounted for through her AI system, which was ever present, sifting through the tiniest pieces of data. As Fiorella was only one person and always wanted to have complete control of her empire, she embraced such technological advancement that allowed micromanagement of thousands of her henchmen. Her AI gave her a terrifying ability to control all black market staff, and has learned from her own behaviours and intruded into every facet of their private lives. Access to deeply private information, her AI meant that nearly all irregularities in behaviours, potential predictors of disloyalty, and significant risk factors were brought to her attention. This allowed her near complete knowledge and control of the entire fabric of her organisation. After spending around 12 hours working at her desk, Fiorella felt her stomach rumble and tell her it was time for her dinner. She pressed a green button underneath her desk, and a couple of seconds later her office door opened. In walked a well-dressed man with a bulge under his suit jacket where his gun was holstered. As soon as he walked in, Fiorella's lust became aroused. She admired her guard's soft chocolate skin. He immediately stood at attention after ogling this Adonis. Fiorella noticed his hypnotic green eyes. She was torn. Did she want food, or did she want to devour this alluring man? As she sat with her legs crossed, she swung her chair from side to side and looked the guard up and down again. Not wanting to be forgotten, her stomach responded with an angry rumble. "My very beautiful man, I'm ever so hungry," she said. "What do you desire, ma'am?" he inquired whilst looking into the distance behind her. Fiorella responded with a smile. "I'm sure you can tell what I desire, but I'll need energy first, as I think you are the type who will last and last. Yes, tell our chef to make me something Japanese," she drawled before she shooed him out with her hand.